was first approached in early 2013 to take part in this program, I think my original thought was, great, another leadership program that's going to eat up a bunch of my time and it's going to become redundant in 6 months from now. Another part of me thought, I'm already excelling as a leader at ACU, so why do I need to take part in another leadership program? I really thought the best thing that ACU could do for me was just kind of leave me alone and let me do my thing. I'd been through numerous training programs, as far as leadership, handling, building effective teams. And what I always found was the current program I was in seemed to kind of mimic the previous 2 or 3 programs that I had already taken part in. Although there was great things that came out of it, I just always thought, I'm not going to get much more out of taking any more of these programs, and really that was my thought about heading into this program. However, I agreed to take part, and in all honesty, I can say that I did become a bit intrigued with the initial reading that took place. When we started the reading content, it really talked about leaders and how they're not self-aware of that they're really setting themselves up for failure. It talked about leaders really relying on past experience and not being open to new ideas, new coaching strategies, and that by doing so, they're actually going to set themselves up for failure. And really, by going through all this reading, the scary part was, this is how I was leading, and really this is what I was relying on. I was relying on a lot of past experience. I was at the point in my career where I thought, I pretty much know what I'm doing. I don't need to learn anymore. I can pretty much go day to day, and I can do this for the next 20 years, and I'm just going to be fine. However, after reading I think it was the first 2 or 3 chapters, I started thinking, I really need to kind of buckle down and see what I can get out of this course, because from what it sounds like, I do need to get some extra learning. I don't want to rely on what I've already learned and fail at some point. So I figured, I'm going to do what I can to get the most out of this course. I'm going to sit down and see what it brings. So over the next little while, I started taking part in the course, and I continued to learn about, building effective teams, having coaching conversations, that type of thing. But really, what I found was I really wasn't getting what I wanted out of this course. That's when I got a call from Change Innovators about having a coaching situation, or a one-on-one coaching meeting. So I figured, I better go to this meeting, because to this point right now, like I said, I'm reading some great things, but I'm really not getting what I need out of it. So I went and I had this meeting with them, and we had some small talk, started talking about, the course to this point, what my feelings were, and then I got hit with this question: how are things working within your branch? So my thought was everything's working fine, so that's how I answered, everything's working fine. So we continued with a bit more small talk, and then they asked me once again, how are things working within your branch? So I was fearing that this coaching conversation could go on for quite a bit, so I figured I better come up with an answer. So off the top of my head, I said, I have a problem with staff in my branch. They're always worrying about what everybody else is doing, and they're coming with me to discuss their problems with one another. The reality was that this was turning into a big problem within my branch. It was starting to affect morale, it was starting to affect teamwork, and it was really eating up a lot of my time, because my employees were dumping these problems on me and expecting me to come up with the solutions. So we continued to talk about this, and after some great discussion and some great questions from Change Innovators, I had this mind-blowing self-realization. I've created this problem within my branch. I'm the one who's causing these problems. It turns out that a lot of these problems, it wasn't because of the individuals. They weren't putting up the roadblocks. It was because of how I was managing them. And I needed to do a better job with my management style and the way I was approaching these situations. One of the things that came out was I wasn't really aware of the individual personalities within my branch. I mean, I knew I had to manage people differently, but I wasn't really aware of to what extent I needed to do so. I also soon found out that I lead with a lot of green energy. And for someone who leads with a lot of green energy, I'm often somebody who's caring, accommodating. I also listen a lot, and that listening was becoming a real big problem. Because I was a real good listener, I had this open door policy, and people were always coming in. Like, they just felt they could come in and talk to me, and I wasn't really addressing the situation. I was listening to them, and that I was taking their problem on. So after this coaching session with Change Innovators, I decided, I really got to change the way I'm approaching these situations. So going forward, I was still available to my staff. I mean, I knew I had to be there for them. However, I became more self-aware of the extent of how I needed to handle these situations. And I started putting more of the onus back on them to kind of say, you know what, you're coming to me with these problems, but you need to become a self-manager in this process. You need to own these problems. And it does have to fall on you to kind of solve these problems on your own. By starting to put more and more of this emphasis on this with the employees, what I did find was that they were starting to work out their problems together. Morale started to increase in the branch. People were working together a lot better. And actually, it was creating a lot more spare time for myself, which was great because I could work on and focus on other things. While this is just one small example of how this program helped me, I can say that it was a huge turning point in my development and my growth as a leader. All the prior learning that I had taken place with this, finally came together after this coaching session. All the reading, all the classroom work. Like I said, prior to going into this coaching session, I wasn't really getting what I thought I was getting out of it, but we had this coaching session, and just what came out of it was great for me because it really brought everything together and really changed my mind and my outlook on how I needed to be doing things. I can definitely say, dealing with change innovators, I talked a bit about taking prior courses prior to this. Dealing with change innovators, what I found the difference was they weren't telling me how to lead, but they were guiding me on my leadership journey. So it wasn't saying you need to do this. They were just kind of giving me the tools to kind of guide me and come to the self-realization on my own that this is how I need to be doing things. And I thought that was great because I was kind of doing things my way, and I wasn't basically doing things the way somebody was telling me to do them. So overall, I can definitely say that I'm a much stronger leader, much more confident. My branch, I have a much better workforce. People are working better together. And like I said, this is just one of the smaller issues that we got fixed, but I graduated, I guess my cohort graduated, almost a year ago now, and I'm still continually using this. It's funny, I run into situations daily, and I'll always fall back to this leadership training because I got that much value out of it. So thanks to Change Innovators and ACU, because I think it was great that they were able to provide this. And I want to thank you all for listening tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.